Hi, Sarah Nielsen here, psychotherapist, and I specialize in the relationship with food, eating disorders, disordered eating, and intuitive eating. And today I want to do a video on grief and eating disorders or disordered eating. And you're going to hear my little French bulldog snoring in the background. So I posted in my intuitive eating group on Facebook, Intuitive Eating Free Education. You're welcome to join, and maybe you're watching this at that spot. 3 topic ideas, and one was grief and eating disorders, one was setting boundaries, and one was variability of food. I am going to try to touch on all of those this week. Last week I wasn't feeling good, so I didn't get much of anything done. And so I'm hoping to get all those up this week. So you can watch them in the Intuitive Eating group. You can watch them on my Counseling with Sarah Nielsen page on Facebook, July Moon on Instagram, or Tales of a Psychotherapist on YouTube. And so today let's talk about grief, and I'm just going to say eating disorder. That also includes disordered eating, okay? You don't have to have a diagnosed eating disorder for this to apply. So the stages of grief apply to a lot of things and not just actual death. The stages of grief can apply to breakups. It can apply to loss of a job. It can apply to retirement. I think I already said relationship. And it can absolutely apply to I'd like to have a better expression, but I don't at the moment, of letting go of your eating disorder or disordered eating. There is grief that comes with it. So the eating disorder oftentimes serves as a friend. It's a support. It may be maladaptive, but nonetheless a coping skill. Again, maladaptive, but nonetheless still a coping skill. It's something that you can count on. It is a control in life. It's always there. There's lots of reasons why it can be very difficult to let it go. And it can be scary, okay? So the stages of grief, this is in no such order. You have anger. You have denial. You have bargaining. You have sadness, and you have acceptance. Acceptance is the last one. Now, the other 4 stages, they can come in any order. You can toggle between. People may not hit each stage. It can be all over the place. But when you are entering into recovery and you're letting your disordered eating go, it doesn't matter if it's binge eating, overeating, under-eating, restricting, even purging. These same feelings can happen of grief. Say the sadness, for example. I think that one's a little more obvious because of the things I said a moment ago about the sadness of letting some of those things go. Man, this thing's been there for me. I can count on it. It's a way I control or manage my anxiety or stress, or it was a way I dealt with my trauma, whatever it is. And the anger can be multifaceted. The anger, a lot of times for a lot of people, is like, why do I have this? Why am I dealing with this? Why me? Also, for people who have had very chronic eating disorders, there can be a lot of anger about, I cannot believe that I've wasted 20 years on this, for example, or whatever. Pick a number. And you don't have to have one for a long time to have that anger of having one, period. But there can be a lot of sadness. There can be a lot of anger. Bargaining, that's kind of like can be the why me, you know. Bargaining can look like other things within eating disorder treatment. It can be I'll just binge eat one more time. That's bargaining. That's having trouble letting go of it. You know, I'll just restrict it a little bit longer. You know, I won't restrict as much. I'll just restrict to this amount of calories. Or, do you see what I mean? It's negotiating. So with eating disorders, grief can show up as like negotiating. The bargaining can. And then denial. Denial can be denial of an eating disorder. Denial can be denial of the severity of it. And sometimes we like to fool ourselves into saying, I have an intolerance to something. And actually it's just a food that you're afraid to eat. And you don't have an intolerance to it or an allergy to it. Or maybe even a contamination fear, whatever it may be. But we may resist certain foods or treatments or things of that nature out of denial of what's truly happening or where we're at. And I always say we have to be very honest with ourselves. And that's where that variability of food can come in, that I'll talk about in another later video. But I just want to just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that there can be a lot of grief with recovery and letting your eating disorder go. And writing a goodbye letter can be a nice way to serve it. To write a letter to your eating disorder, disordered eating, Ed, whatever you want to call them, what they did for you, how they served you, how they were there for you, and then how they were not there for you, and the damage that they did in the ways they did not serve your life. And including in the letter, I'm letting you go, and this is why, and this is how I'm going to, these are the things that I'm going to insert in my life instead. I think that's a nice way to end the letter, is kind of a tiered, as far as like, this is what you did for me, acknowledging that part, you know, some validation, and then moving into the, this is the ways you harm me, and then moving into the, you serve me no longer, but these are the ways that I am now going to serve myself through mindful eating, healthy eating, focusing on vegetables, whatever it may be, if that makes sense. And then that letter, you can process with your therapist, you can share it with a trusted loved one, and then you can keep it, get rid of it, whatever you want. But that's just a little tactic that might be helpful. So watch for the next 2 videos coming out this week. We're going to talk about working on variability of food, and I just lost the other one, sorry. Asserting yourself and boundaries when it comes to the relationship with food. That's often a big part of treatment. So I will see you in the next video.